Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Cleopatra. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And I have the magnificent Dr. Rowe here with me. And we also have a very, very special guest, my dear friend, Mariza Snyder, Dr. Mariza Snyder. Dr. Rowe, could you do the bio for Dr. Mariza Snyder so everybody can learn how amazing this human being is?
Absolutely. She does so much for health, and women's health is what we're going to focus on today because us moms need a lot of TLC and we don't get it. So Dr. Mariza is a functional practitioner. She's an author of 7 books, including the national bestseller, The Essential Oils Hormone Solution, focused on balancing hormones with the power of essential oil, and the #1 bestseller, The Smart Mom's Guide to Essential Oils. That sounds like a staple that you need to have. She's working on her 8th book right now.
Yes.
Which is pretty amazing. For the past 10 years, so for over a decade, she's been lecturing at wellness centers and conferences, all about, hormone health and essential oils, nutrition, detoxification. She's been featured on a bunch of media outlets, including Dr. Oz, Fox Health News, Oprah Magazine, Mind Body Green. And she's the host of a podcast called Essentially You Podcast. It's designed to empower women to become the CEO of their own health, which is something we love to talk about.
Love that mission so much. Yeah.
And we'll have all her website information, drmariza.com. We'll have that available for everybody in our show notes. So welcome, soon to be author of 8 books.
Incredible. I just have to interject here because Dr. Mariza just recently published her 7th book, which became a best-selling book. And already she is on to the next one. This woman is such a prolific writer and such an incredible businesswoman, in addition to being such a wealth of information about health. So we are so honored that you're here and so excited to share your incredible wisdom and your incredible range of wisdom with our community. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about why your hormones need a break.
Yes.
I love that because our mamas are stressed out. So, tell us about, your healing journey, how you got involved in this path, because it's a great story. So tell us about it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I had a defining moment when I was 30 years old. For the majority of my 20s, I ran like something was chasing me the entire time. And in high heels. I was wearing high heels the whole time. Don't get it twisted. But I was running in survival mode and I didn't know it. I honestly had no idea that I had become a stressaholic. I didn't know that I was addicted to stress and the stress response system. And ultimately, one day I woke up 7 a.m. to get ready to go see my patients in my practice. I had a full set of patients from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And I can't lift my head up off the pillow. I can't get out of bed. And I remember trying to lift myself up and having this moment, like this freak out moment of like, oh my gosh, what's going on with me? And I remember literally crawling to the bathroom to get ready. And I remember looking at myself and thinking, how are you going to be able to take care of these patients if you can't even take care of yourself? Mm-hmm. And that led down a rabbit hole of, a practitioner should never self-diagnose, right? None of us should ever self-diagnose. We should have someone looking from the outside in. And so I went to this really amazing hormone practitioner. She ran my labs. Sure enough, hormone hot mess. Labs, cortisol, estrogen. I had no progesterone. I mean, there was a whole lot of nothing. I was running on empty for so long. And I remember after she was like, yeah, no, it's a whole hot message situation right here. What she gave me was birth control and Xanax.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
I remember just looking at her like, you've got to be kidding me right now. Like, I'm exhausted. Like, and it just, I remember feeling so alone in that journey, in that moment, and feeling misguided and not knowing what to do. I remember sitting in my car in my little Civic outside of the doctor's office, and I just cried for a minute. I had my little mini pity party, took the crown off for a second, put that sucker right back on. I put the crown back on, and I was like, okay, number one, I can figure this out. I was a biochemist once upon a time. I'm a researcher, and I'm a bulldog to figure this out. And I've got to figure this out. I'm 30 years old. This cannot be my new normal. And then number
Yes.
two, I also realized that how many other women have walked through these doors and have been given this exact solution. And they didn't question it.
And they didn't know any better. Exactly.
No better.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, I will be a renegade. I will be the voice. I will not be a part of this problem anymore. I will be a part of the solution. And it's what every single day after I was able to actually wake up and get up, every single day I was been fully dedicated to this mission. And it's literally my life's work, is offering women root cause solutions to getting their hormones back on track, and that they have information to make educated decisions about their health. So that is my everything. It's what I do every day.
And how powerful is that? Because whether you're doing it for yourself or your child, you know, you can get information and make informed decisions. And just because somebody says this is the way, Xanax and birth control, doesn't mean you have to accept that.
Exactly. That is so important. And I'm sure that that's where your mission to be for women to be the CEO of their own health came from. Because if you just go by trusting what the professionals say, what the consensus is, you are not necessarily doing what is the very best for your health, especially not in the long term. And that's huge for people to know that. That is huge. I think that that's also a generational difference, because I think of my dad, and I'm sure that he didn't know that. And I'm sure that my mother, when she died at 27 years old, did not know that. But we have the luxury of knowing that. And I know that we're raising children who know that too, even more certainly and clearly than we do, so that they know it way earlier in life than we ever did, right? And I think that that is so important. So thank you for this powerful mission that you are on.
Yeah. And so many women have hormonal imbalances, you know, that are caused by stress and environmental toxins. You know, talk about some of the most common reasons why, and how does it impact our body, so people can really understand, because I think this is such a common issue that people don't connect the dots to.
Absolutely. We've been marketed to that if our menstrual cycle is too long or it's inconsistent, that there's something broken with our menstrual cycle. And it's not. Your hormones never chose to sabotage you. They didn't decide, you know, oh, we're going against her today. That was never the decision. Your body doesn't do that. Your body does what it can with what it has when it's got it, you know, and it just makes the most intelligent decisions for you. So when we look at root causes, we know that our cycle in its own right, that how estrogen and progesterone and testosterone and how all that cycle, the luteinizing hormone, follicular stimulating hormone, that we know that for the most part, they are doing the best to run as in sync as possible. What ends up happening is that we do have a lot of environmental concerns and environmental stressors that come into play, things like nutrient deficiencies, gut issues, the intangibles like stress and trauma that play a big role, environmental toxins. They could be plastics, they could be air pollution, they could be solvents, or they could be heavy metals, like the whole gamut of them all. And then maybe it's also potentially pathogens, co-infections, viruses, bacteria, parasites, all of that playing a role. And so it's really kind of figuring out what's at play with your body. And I know that sounds like a lot of items. And luckily, there's a hierarchy of where we can start in that root cause journey, because so often if we can clean up a couple of these, the other ones show up, or we feel we get a lot of resolution. So, but it's important to know that it's really the root causes that are driving a lot of these imbalances or these nutrient deficiencies that are causing our hormones. It's causing us to have mood swings. It's causing us to feel exhausted. It's causing us to not get enough sleep. It's causing us to have heavy periods. It's causing us to feel bloated and uncomfortable, causing us to have crazy sugar, emotionally driven cravings. You know, all of those are hormonal imbalances, but driven by something else.
And I think I'm so glad you said that, because I think that a lot of us are under the impression that we have a lot more free will than we really do, because I like to say we think we're making decisions for ourselves, and it's really our hormones running the show for us. And you really alluded to that when you talked about the sugar cravings and the mood swings. So can you talk a little bit about where you start in the
Yeah.
hierarchy?
Absolutely. Well, personally, what I believe to be true, and I just did a survey to my audience, and we got about 10,000 women responding.
That
And
is
we just,
incredible.
yeah,
That's a legit sample size,
it's
by
a
the way.
decent sized sample, and from a researcher for sure. So 10,000 women, and we asked the first, what I always want to know is like, what is the thing that is weighing you down? Like, what is the thing that is permeating in your everyday?
That's a good question.
It's not so much like how, what do you think your problems are? I want to know what you're experiencing. Number one, exhaustion. Right behind number one is they're not sleeping well. They're feeling stressed, overworked, and anxiety. They have a lot of anxiety. That was number three. And then number four was a lack of focus and concentration. They just felt like they couldn't focus and concentrate. We all know, as we're listening to this list, the three of us, we recognize that they're interconnected, right?
Of course,
and right now, it's no surprise. This is a group of women, 45 to 55. This is my demographic. Clearly, a couple people fall above it. Some people fall below it in terms of age. But that's where I'm landing, is that sweet spot between the perimenopause spectrum and the menopause spectrum. And these women, I find that this particular age group of women, no, they've never been busier.
Yeah.
They are taking on parent problems. They're taking on kid problems. They're taking on everything in between. Maybe they're transferring jobs. They're thinking about their life in a different kind of way. They're having a different kind of relationship with their partner. Just a lot of things are shifting for us as women. And then let's just throw hormones into the mix, and those root causes are catching up.
Yes.
They're starting to chip away at us at the core of our ability to function. And so it's no surprise we're feeling pretty exhausted. That where I find the intangible, I always say, there was a research article I read not too long ago that said, what were the 5 indicators of health? And initially I was like, okay, well, I know stress is one, and I know nutrient deficiency, and like listing them off. And it was like autonomic nervous system, autonomic nervous system, autonomic nervous system.
Yes.
Autonomic nervous system is because physiologically that automatic system can drive our hormones into pure chaos mode.
Yes.
Right? We could go from okay to the world's in Armageddon like that. And many of us, when we are heightened already, because we are taking care of all the people all the time, everywhere, and balancing all the things and checking the boxes at the same time, it doesn't take a lot to tip the scale for us as women. And that cascade of chemicals, because our brain perceives a threat, whatever that perceived threat is, leads to inability to think, that the crazy amount of sugar cravings that we're dealing with, the rapid mood swings, the fast thinking thoughts, the reactive decision. And how I like to gauge that is, every day I have an intention for compassion and empathy and love. I think most mamas, most women do. We want to show up and really serve. How I know I am not my best self, that I'm in a state of stress potentially, is what kind of energy is being amplified out. How are people receiving me? Is my husband giving me that look? He like, and I'm like, uh-oh, I must be being stretched. All of a sudden, whatever compassion I thought I had for that man, it's gone. I need to get some stuff done right now. I am in mode, and so stress is always one of the things I think about for women. Is I think we're just capped out, and it's so easy to tip the scale. And because it's a survival hormone, cortisol being that survival hormone, it's no wonder it has such a profound impact on how our reproductive system works, how our liver, our thyroid, our gut is functioning, even how insulin is being regulated. So I find that that's one of the first places I look at, is how are we nourishing ourselves? How are we loving ourselves? And are we doing any level of mindfulness, whether it's a 5 minutes of breath, or just taking a moment to do a little mini dance party? Like, is any of that built in? And if it isn't, I know we got a problem on our hands.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's just, moms don't want to slow down, or don't feel like they can slow down for self-care. And, I promise you're spending at least 30 minutes a day scrolling on your devices. You can do 10 minutes of meditation or,
Totally.
using essential oils. Like, we got it right here. Look, I got my essential oils.
We all do.
It's just part of who we are,
Yes.
and I mean, I've been using essential oils for, I don't even know, like 15, 20 years. So how can women bring some of these tools like essential oils to help with our hormones? Because this is a wonderful, easy hack. And I love essential oils. I have peppermint, what we got out right now.
When I'm working, I gotta have peppermint.
Yeah, it helps stimulate our brain, and where I am, it's actually nighttime already. So, so talk a little bit about it, because I think you'll be surprised at how clinically effective it is.
They are. And you're absolutely right. It is much easier to scroll on Instagram or go into a TikTok hole than it is to do the mindfulness exercise, do the deep breathing. And here's the thing is there's something to be said about taking that break too. You're not going to get the same kind of, it's a little bit of a different break than just going inward and really resetting our central nervous system. But they are a win. So, and I wanted to just let the ladies know, if they were like, don't you take my Instagram away from me. Don't you take my JLo pictures from me. Like whatever that may be that you're looking at. So essential oils, each and every one of us deserve quick wins. We deserve an instant win. And that's what I'm proposing. And that's what I'm offering is an instant win. If an essential oil scent that's aromatic chemical constituents goes straight to that little limbic system, that little primitive system of the brain that is feeling really hijacked right now? And what if by smelling that beautiful floral, maybe it's lavender, maybe it's jasmine, maybe it's rose, maybe it's clary sage, whatever you love. Maybe it's a citrus because you grew up near an orange orchard growing up, whatever that is. I did. My papa, we had oranges around us in Southern California. And so I just remember my grandpa oranges, and it reminds me of all this bubbly happiness, childhood joy just by smelling a wild orange essential oil. So tuning into whatever feels good. And just what I do, and this is where, this is how we can create a really easy habit, is I have my phone right here. And instead of going into Instagram, what I do is I set it on the hour, and I have this little beautiful chime, like a little yoga chime, something Oprah would send me, like something nice, not an alarm.
No startling.
No dogs barking at you on the hour or something like that. And so you have that little chime go off, you grab your favorite essential oil, you put a drop on your palms, or you roll it, whatever you've got in front of you. And you just take some 3 to 5 deep belly breaths, 6 breaths in, 6 breaths out, and just do it. We're talking about 60 seconds. And when you're doing it, maybe walk around a little bit, just change your state, breathe that oil in, let it do its job, because the oils are going to do what they do anyway. They're going to go and do their magic. It's chemistry at its best right there. Plant chemistry working in your favor, really collaborating with your chemistry to benefit you. And honestly, on the hour, every hour for 60 seconds, you can absolutely switch tracks from sympathetic fight or flight survival mode over to parasympathetic, even if you don't know you're there. Because most people have no idea.
Yes.
When it's a slow climb. You don't just go into a high stress state. Your nervous system has this here's the bottom, here's the top, and you have that domino effect of all these things in your life start getting you in this hyper state. In order to get it down, it's not one thing, it's a practice. And I love that advice of on the hour, 60 seconds. Who's going to say no to that?
Exactly. And having the quick win. And it does feel really good. I love this.
Feel really good.
And you know what? I do this with my kids too. It benefits them as well. Right. Yeah. And now they even ask me for oil, which is really,
they know when they're having a burnout. They know when they're having a moment, right? And I have a kid. It's so fun to watch kids who love the oils and know what they do for them, like time oils and meltdown oils and focus oils for homework, those kind of things. And to be able to provide that level of support to your family that is safe and it's effective, and it's a really interesting way to start priming your kids for natural medicine as well.
Yeah.
And for taking the time to be self-aware, to tap into what they're feeling, and taking the time out that they need to be able to get themselves on track and reset. I think that that's huge. And that's not something that you could ever be too young to learn. I think many of us would have liked to learn that even earlier in our own lives. So I completely agree.
Yeah.
What I love,
self-care is just so essential. Like, you know,
Mhm.
we think of it as a luxury, but you know, even all of us want the best for our kids, and whether you're doing this as you should to be better yourself, you're actually doing this to be the role model for your kids. And if you do this
Absolutely.
kind of things together, there's just so many layers to the benefits of it. Hormones is one part of that, right? So, but you know, just so easy. I love that, your little gifts. Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, using hormones using essential oils to balance out your stress levels and your hormones. And I know you have this beautiful book that's behind you, the Essential Oil Hormone Solution.
So good.
Talk to us about your book.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just to touch upon, you know, one of the things we're talking about and every single one of us chimed in on is that I love my oils. I love them. I love smelling them. Like this little oil just literally carries room to, we're like a dynamic duo. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't go anywhere without you. You're like, I remember my buddy when I was a little kid.
Constant companion. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And so,
absolutely.
So
yeah,
when you start to use them and it elicits this beautiful experience, you want more of that, right? And so that's another thing I just wanted to mention for everyone listening is that we deserve that beautiful experience. And what I love so much about the oils is they upgrade our self-care. They fast track our self-care. They make it so easy and seamless to use, whether you need a little brain fog booster or you need a little stress reducer or you need a little, a mood check. You need, you need to shut down the snippy snappy, whatever that is, they're there for you. Now, the book specifically, so the book was laid out as a root cause book. So what I realized is that so often no one had told us about our menstrual cycle. No one had told us about the different phases in our lives. None of it. And every time I talk to women, they were just like, I know none of this. And so
nobody talks about perimenopause. Like
nobody talks about the 10-year.
I mean, my bestie thought she had a brain tumor. No, it was perimenopause. You know what I mean? Like it knocked her on her butt.
Oh goodness, it is. Ooh, it comes for you. And it's a 10-year journey for some women. And so how are we missing that conversation? Like how
that whole decade of the conversation.
Let's just skip 40. Let's just, what I'm saying? Like that whole.
Oh no, the 40s are awesome.
Oh no, 40s are amazing, but like doctors talking to patients about anything, we're just gonna skip that decade. We don't have a drug for that. We don't have Premarin for you yet. And we just ignore it. It's almost like also the journey into pregnancy. Like, that has been also kind of taboo ignored up until, the last decade or so. It's like, oh yeah, no, you just walk into this.
You just go get pregnant.
Yeah. That's crazy. So that was what I kept hearing over and over and over again. And I was like, I hear you. And so the first part of the book was really the rundown of what is going on, what is happening with me, how does it work, how is this all interconnected? Are you're telling me my blood sugar levels could be connected to my ovulatory cycle? Like, how does that work?
And the way your brain is
functioning. What's PCOS? I don't know. And so putting the pieces together there for women, telling my story, I've got, my story is built into that as well. And then talking about how essential oils can really be leveraged to help support us. Part 2 is the nitty gritty of the problems, from low libido to digestive issues to toxicity, sleep, energy, all of it, everything in between. It is literally every chapter. If that's the chapter you want to go to, everything, the how, the why, the solutions are all packaged in that little chapter. And then part 3 is the 14-day plan, because I do believe that in 14 days, we can make massive transformation. And I'll tell you what, women will say yes to 14 days. And that's what mattered most to me. That
women will say yes to themselves, right? That it feels manageable, that they can. Yeah, that's so incredible. So when you talk about the root causes and the hierarchy, if people heard, your list of items, your microbiome or your gut, your toxicity, where would you tell them to start to keep it simple?
Absolutely. So gut is definitely one of them. So,
Yes,
working
it's
on the
the
gut
root.
and
Yeah.
really just nourishing foods, lots of green leafy vegetables, healthy fats,
Mhm.
probiotics, fermented goodies,
Mhm.
digestive enzymes. Like, let's just start to clear the slate and get a
Mhm.
foundation together,
Mhm.
and lots of good fiber sources, green smoothies or whatever that comes from, just really allowing our microbiome to feel fully supported. So that's going to be number one. Number
Mhm.
two is the liver. Can we
Mhm.
talk about the liver?
Yes,
Because that
let's talk about
poor,
the liver.
hardworking girl who no one seems to care about. She's running, talk about the multitasker of
Yes.
multitaskers. The liver is handling some business, but she's also converting. She's converting thyroid hormone. She's breaking down estrogen. She's doing all kinds of jobs. And
Yes.
so the liver needs some love there as well. And then the stress components. So, and when I talk about liver, I always think about blood sugar levels as well. So that it is interconnected.
Mhm.
Insulin resistance, prediabetes, the liver is handling that show first. And
Yeah.
so if we don't take care of the liver, it's where we start to see an exacerbation of problems. And then clearly that intangible, that massive gray cloud over our heads, which is the stress component that can really tailspin both the liver and blood sugar levels and the gut
Mhm.
into having to respond in a more survival driven kind of way. So
Mhm.
those are the areas that I focus on specifically first and foremost to
Mhm.
address the kind of the root causes is
Mhm.
how can we get our digestive system back on track? How
Yeah.
do we manage our stress? And how do we make sure that we're taking care of our liver? And again, that all ties into detoxification and reducing our toxic load and throwing out all the nasty chemicals in the house that our kids are on the floor touching. Those are all the things that tie into all of those organ systems.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Dr. Mariza, like I talk about the liver all the time, and you're
Yes.
actually one of the only people I've ever heard talk about the liver.
We talk about the liver too in the trimester. It's
Yeah,
like, love your liver,
and
baby. Yes.
people, this is new. This is really new information for
It is
people that,
cutting edge. Yeah.
yeah, they're not understanding how hard working and how connected it is to your hormone system and supporting your
Mhm.
brain and body. Like we're, what I do is mental health, and so many people are starting to understand that there's a physical component in mental health, right? And all these
Absolutely.
people, poor people, land in mental health as you did because you were prescribed Xanax,
Mhm.
even though they said it was hormone related. They gave you a psychiatric medication, right, to
Yes.
tamp
Yeah.
you down. They didn't give you any education about what you could do. But
Yeah.
talk to us about the little more about the liver and how it gets so overloaded.
Mhm.
And obviously they can read your book to find out ways to turn that around. But I don't think they really get how much it's really working.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, your liver, in case everyone was wondering how busy she is running 500 plus jobs per second. And and then the liver's got to prioritize. And
Mhm.
so the liver is being bombarded by medications, being bombarded by environmental toxins, bombarded by, chemicals that we're consuming. That's when we're going to feel taxed. Right now, like I've read some stats during this time is that some cities right now increased alcohol consumption by 40+%. And so your
Ouch.
liver, I'll tell you what, your liver is not trying to do all that. Your liver is also not trying to manage a bunch of sugar.
Yes.
I always say, when you're looking at that cupcake, ask your liver what she wants. And she's going to be like, don't you touch that cupcake.
I
Don't
love
do that to me. Don't mess with me like that.
that.
And so at the end of the day, we're having to, you think about like the estrogen pathway, right? When we're having to break down
Yeah.
estrogen in phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification, so oxidation and then conjugation or
Mhm.
methylation.
Mhm.
And we see how if the liver doesn't have the key antioxidants, the important, cofactors, all of the proteins, everything to run these phases properly. So if nutrient deficiencies is an issue, so if you're running on stress and you are burning through your B vitamins, and you're burning through glutathione, and you're burning through magnesium and all the other important key nutrients, you got a lot less for your body to run the processes. And liver is one of those areas where we really take a hit. So estrogen's got to be broken down. One, first oxidized in phase 1, and then methylated in phase 2. And then phase 3 is the gut, right? With the estrobolome, where we have to break that down as well, then heading on out. And so if we know that the liver is compromised in a lot of women in perimenopause, it is.
Oh, definitely.
We start to see an increase in estrogen dominance. So if your breasts are tender, or they hurt before your period, your cycle's getting a little bit like it's inconsistent, but also the bleeding's heavier. You're feeling like you are putting a little bit more weight around the booty and the thighs. You get migraines before your period, and your PMS is feeling like it's out of control. Those are sure signs that we're in estrogen dominance, and most likely it's a good indicator that the liver is asking for some help. So if you were looking to see, how do I test whether my liver needs me, before a CBC, a complete blood panel tells me that enzymes are off, or that my fasting blood glucose is off, those are going to be key signs way early on that something isn't right.
Yeah, because our body always tells us, right?
Yes. Oh,
and
yes.
So, they're just not connecting those dots. So thank you for connecting those dots, because I think that's really important.
Oh, yeah.
We think of hormones, but we don't think about it where it's connected to other systems in the body, and how those things impact our brain. So that was really great. And I know that you have this awesome book, which I'm actually going to get off this podcast in order. For real, because we are essential oil junkies.
So you'll love it. The recipes are so yummy.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna love it.
Good, because I got the whole kit of all my oils, and so I can just mix them up, and they're great. Yes. They've been a go-to for our family, like ever since I've had kids, and I just love that we all enjoy them. My kids seek them out. But one of the things you're gonna do, because people, the information you're giving might be really new, and so many women, I have friends that start early perimenopause in their late 30s. Like we're seeing the widening of when that's happening.
Yes.
I think that might be shocking, right, to people, Dr. Mariza? So, but you have a hormone quiz, which could really help people distinguish, should I be worried? Should I not be worried? Can you talk a little bit about that? Because we're all scientists, and we'll geek out on data, and I think it's great for people to get information that can help guide them.
Absolutely. So the one thing I want to say about the quiz, and it was built for women who still have a cycle. So that was the one thing I wanted to make clear. I've had a lot of women in menopause take it, and they're just like, everything's gone. And I'm just, estrogen and progesterone. I was like, well, that's natural to have symptoms of lower estrogen and progesterone is a natural process. But again, women don't know that either. No one's told women that naturally we decline these hormones. They're like, oh my God, my hormones are gone. I need replacements right now. And so it's really just shifting that conversation. So this particular quiz is for anyone up into menopause. So perimenopause, childbearing, basically it's from 13 to 50. Give or take, that's the spectrum. And I'm looking at cortisol, I'm looking at thyroid hormone, we're looking at progesterone and estrogen. Clearly, I want to see, are we seeing estrogen dominance? Are we seeing high levels of cortisol? And also look at insulin. So it really just kind of gives you the lay of the land of what is going on. Now, it's a quiz more than it's, a Dutch test or a full panel, but a lot of what we can tell about our bodies is our symptoms. It really can give us that preliminary look, and then testing can absolutely confirm it as well. But I wanted women to feel like, do I have to get all these tests? Do I have to do all of this to even move forward? And absolutely no. You loving your body, and you loving your digestive system, you loving your liver, any day is a good day. Yes. Any day is a good day for that. You loving your hormones. You don't need a test to tell you that your hormones could just use a little TLC. And that's what I love. I think sometimes we just want a little bit of confirmation that we're feeling a certain kind of way, and that now we kind of feel like there's a plan in place that we can move forward with.
Yeah, you give them a path that they might not have been aware of. And so many people, the number one reason why people go to the doctor is stress related conditions.
Yes.
And so this is a part of that. And it's also could be normal perimenopausal symptoms. But they, when I started perimenopausal symptoms, it was like, oh yeah, well, that's just what women go through. There's not really anything you can do about it. And that's BS.
That is
And
BS.
that's
That
true.
is BS.
That is not the answer we will ever accept ever again.
Nope.
Yeah.
I am so over that answer. That is I don't know what to do for you because I don't know anything about your body.
Because I wasn't taught this.
Yes, I wasn't taught this.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. Well,
Love
so how can people access this quiz? We're going to give your website information, but how can people access this quiz?
I believe it's drmariza.com/hormone quiz. I kept it real simple. It's also in the book as well. Well, the link to the quiz is in the book. The book got a little long. So this happens to me, where the publishing house is like, you have to cut some stuff, keep your other stuff. And so one of the, they were like, let's just move the quiz to a little site. People can take it really quick that way. So the quiz is, I think it's drmariza.com/hormone quiz.
Yeah.
Yes,
And it's MARIZA, just so people can understand how it's spelled. We'll have that. You just have been a wealth of knowledge. I feel like there's so many other layers that we could have you back a million times to talk about.
Yes,
things.
we want you back.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'd love to have you come
I would
back
be
and
honored.
talk about essential oils with kids too.
Yes, totally. We
all
would love
day,
that so
all
much.
day. I mean, you guys know I have another book called The Smart Mom's Guide to Essential Oils
Yes.
for mamas. But
Yes.
it's our, as you had said, it's our first line of defense. More than anything, it's the first thing we try. And then if it's not working, then we go to the next thing. And if it's not working, then we move, to a practitioner. And so and I have found that the majority of things that come up, the everyday stuff, knock out with an essential oil. And what I love so much about it is mamas can feel so confident and feel so safe,
Exactly. So safe. Yeah.
And that's what matters to me the most, is that moms feel that we're getting our power back. That we're deciding how to take care of our families, and that is very empowering. And then we get to distill that legacy, to our kids and to our kids as kids. And I think just like teaching our kids to cook and garden, how to treat normal everyday little remedies with things in our own home, I think is a really, really powerful tool set to have for every one of us.
That is so powerful. And you're right. So empowering for mamas. That's really, and so empowering for our children when they know, they learn that they can do some things for themselves too. If they have a tummy ache, there's something that they can do to make themselves feel better. If they're starting to, get a little cold or whatever it is. That is so, so beautiful. And I just want to celebrate Dr. Mariza, because not only is she this wealth of information, but she is so much fun, such a powerhouse. We definitely want you to come back. Thank you so much for this, for the gift of being here with us today.
Thanks for having me. It was so much fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here. We're so excited to share this incredible information with you, and we will see you again really soon. Bye, Dr. Ro. Bye, Dr. Mariza.
Bye, ladies. Bye, mamas.
Bye, mamas.